Hello and most welcome to 1462 of the series. We will today start with a new article of Hans Ruin. The passivity of reason, on Heidegger's concept of Stimmung. I'll start with a summary. The concept of Stimmung, attunement or mood, is a key notion in Heidegger's existential ontology, as this is articulated in Sein und Zeit. Not only does it designate a significant aspect of human existence, which Heidegger portrays as tuned throughout its different comportments. It also plays a decisive role as a methodological step within the course of ontological analysis. Only through the cultivation of specific moods can the route to a qualified philosophical contemplation be accessed. Throughout his life, Heidegger remained a devout reader of Aristotle. Who plays a particularly important role during the early 20s when the existential analytic is developed. This background is one important key to understanding the philosophical implications of Heidegger's analysis of Stimmung. In the end, these themes also invite us to distinguish in very broad terms how the relation between passion and reason has been articulated in Greek and Christian thinking, respectively. Against the background of such a general account, It is my purpose here to situate Heidegger's analysis of Stimmung in a context in which it can hopefully both be better appreciated and critically assessed. Broadly speaking, the problem of Stimmung belongs to the philosophy of passions and emotions. In his introduction to the theme of Stimmung in section 29 of Sein und Zeit, Heidegger criticizes those who have tried to degrade this phenomenon to a secondary level, as opposed to the supposed non-emotional faculty of reason. Instead, he argues for its irreducible nature, as well as for its constitutive role in all cognitive activity. Put a short break here. I need to put some insert some water. A second. Sorry about that intermission. And thank you, Kalle, for showing where I am. It's just excellent of you. In this respect, he anticipates a formulation of the problem often encountered in the contemporary debate. Namely, the problem of how to give due credit to emotions in matters of reason. Ethical as well as non-ethical. From this modern perspective, it is generally agreed that emotions are something that philosophy has traditionally neglected. And that it is now time to reassess the cognitive role and content of emotions. Often this discussion is carried on in surprising neglect, not only of Heidegger, but of a whole tradition of thinkers to which he belongs, from Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer and onward. For whom this problem was of central concern. Before we go on to examine the argument specifically developed by Heidegger and its possible relevance for a contemporary discussion, it is important that we articulate a more nuanced picture of the traditional philosophical treatment of emotions. More exactly, we must not be content with a simple verdict that philosophy, during or up to a certain point, has neglected a sphere of humanity, which is only now being fully appraised. Instead, we must ask how and why the problem of passions and emotions. Kalimera says. The problem of passions and emotions has been raised as it has. The situation could be stated in a rather straightforward, I think, way is needed here, was as follows: from its very beginning, philosophy as a praxis of logos. Has constituted itself was as follows: from its very beginning, philosophy was, I think is needed, a praxis of logos. Has constituted itself through a certain suppression of the passions. However, what philosophy thereby suppresses is not a domain or a theme of philosophical knowledge. On the contrary, in all of classical philosophy, the passions are a theme of great theoretical concern. Indeed, passion is that which must be known in order for there to be philosophy. It is only by grasping the sense and significance of passion that philosophy, as the supreme activity of reason, can establish and gain access to itself. My comment here, this is once more the interpenetration into the subject itself, something that Damasio in modern time also to some degree has pointed towards. Without accessing Stimmung, or the mood, philosophy can in itself not understand. The very understanding power comes from the emotions. Permit me to suggest the following generalization. The relation between reason and passion in classical philosophy and by this term I refer to philosophy up until Kant. Can in fact be schematized with the help of the most elementary dichotomy available, namely that of activity and passivity. Let me also show this active, passive, active, passive. It's a very good distinction. It's a handy distinction. Let me repeat that. Namely that of activity and passivity. Reason understands itself as activity, as opposed to the passive realm of the passions. This is clearly the case in Aristotle, who in Nicomachean Ethics raises the question if the virtues of which philosophical wisdom is the highest are passions or not. He answers in the negative, and his argument is that passions are passive, or in passions we are moved. Whereas our virtues are states of character, an ability for action. In other words, to learn to take a stand with respect to one's passions. The connection between passions and passivity can be followed throughout the entire range of concepts denoting this phenomena. Greek pathe and pascho, Latin affectus, patio, afficio, and movio, English passion and affect, German Leidenschaft, which in the Scandinavian languages is Lidenskap and Lidelse. Last one coming from my own language, Swedish. My comment here, it's not very hard to see that these are all pointing to passivity, non-activity, or being of the receiving end of an action. The passions are something that we suffer, undergo, submit to, etc., over and against which the activity of reason must be cultivated as a remedy. How aptly put by Hans Reen. And I would say, in doing so, my comment here might be a bit premature. We are cutting out the feeding process. It's what I mentioned by the interpenetration, going into itself, into the source, so to speak, where the subject meets the object in a thinking manner, in a understanding manner. I'll take my summary now and I will put a little point here. Answering here is also touching on a much debated subject the last 2-3 decades. I mentioned earlier Damasio, but this has also been taken up by several researchers and philosophers of cognition, psychology, and even going so far as into neurology. Answering is going into the very nerve. Maybe the traumatic happening when logos, so to say, split itself off from pathos, and we became separated from our twin. I would say this is also deeply connected to the why question. The integrative why is one of the few of the what and how that really points to activity. Why did it start? Can you see that? Because how this is done is passivity. It's like it has almost passed. But why is more what initiated it? What is the reason? The telos. So in a way, it starts with reason and pathos together, and then it splits itself off, and one becomes standing still. We call it the object. No longer moving. It can be put under examination for handen of the interrogative how and where, what. You see how this introduces passivity. It's presented already, deadened, if you like, and even the act of perception becomes passivity. You just see where it is, how it is, red, black. It sort of simmers down or spirals down to everything becoming more passive. So your own reactions become the passiveness of emotion and out of control also. We are overcome of the emotions, out of our control. Lisa Feldman-Bartet questioned that. She saw emotions as wholenesses, something before the Western division of logos and pathos. That they were plannings that incorporated the whole of the individual and the surrounding. To put it extremely simple, since it's morning still here, well, almost. See, the touching finger touches for a reason, a want, a desire, and that desire cannot be separated from what is rational or what is emotional. It goes hand in hand. The split happens after the touch. The perceptive act then they become separated and fragmented. And in the end, emotions becomes this marginalized part of the world and of ourselves. And no, never are emotions no longer seen to be out there, exogenous. They become marginalized inside. One can sort of make an archaeology here of the split between what used to be in antiquity verbal phrases that did not make a clear distinction of the inside outside, and where passions equally as logos existed inside but also outside. I also here think a bit, I'm really stretching this, but Julian James and the bicameral mind, where the rational thinking came from the outside, from the gods or from the sea, where this distinction was not established or before the very amnesia. What we have more today is a progression of this tendency, which has led to a stale gray world out there, which we only paint with our emotions, and we do that painting passively, and we forget that we ourselves are doing the intention. The why we forget. We become occupied in daily living. This certain busyness of the daily routines, and which leads to strange logos. We mentioned before of the syllogism, a fixated way of seeing logos, and also in its nature passive. Two propositions leading to a result, an answer, and doing it vertically automated also have the flair of passivity and fixatedness. Go to the questionnaire here. Comments from my dear colleague. The female scholar is Lisa Filman Bartet, and she doesn't see emotions as passive reactions, but they are small plannings in connections with intentions, energies. Yeah, very good. Kalle writes here. Aristotle's explanation that we are moved by passions is almost ridiculous, as if reason makes us immobile. Indeed, how very aptly put. I think many people today, and I myself, was a true supporter of that idea of logic somehow being otherworldly and regulating reason. The syllogism, the propositions, which obviously comes from our particular writing system or our original chirality in this connection. So Kalle has written to everyone the correct spelling of the name. Lisa Feldman Bartet. 7.5 lessons about the brain. Indeed. We'll end the recording here if there are no more comments. And Kalle, please stay on for a little while. No more questions?